Good morning everyone and welcome to my channel. If you are new, my name is Greg and this is Modern MG, where I've taken my 1978 MG Midget, I've torn it apart and I'm in the process of rebuilding it, doing an engine swap with a 1990 NA Miata 1.6 liter dual overhead cam engine. Today I wanted to talk to you about the center console that I'm in the process of making. I've had a lot of questions on Instagram, and originally I was just going to do kind of a time lapse of us creating it, but I wanted to talk to you guys today. I'll probably have some video in video, some of the time lapses while I'm talking, but there was a lot of questions on Instagram, on posts and on in my DMs about kind of why I did what I did. So I want to kind of talk you through my thinking and the reasons why I did it, and maybe you want to do the same if you're doing a similar project. Maybe you're just here for entertainment. So come along, I'll show you what I'm doing, and let's get to it. Alright, so before we start, I just want to say I am freezing in here. My garage does have a furnace, but it's super loud when it's on. So we're going to try to make this short and sweet because my hands feel like they're going to fall off. So to start, we're a little further ahead than you'll see in the video. The engine's in now, and we're trying to run some electrical, so sorry if that kind of gets in the way. But from the start, when we decided to put this engine in, we realized we needed 3 points of contact. So in the Miata, and I believe in most cars, but I don't have a ton of experience, normally you have 2 engine mounts and then a transmission mount. We made our own engine mounts that you can see down there. Super simple, just a solid mount, no rubber, it'll be fine. But we realized that we also needed a transmission mount. So the original transmission mount on this car, if I can bring it over here, was here. There's a bracket system, 2 big bolts, and it bolted directly underneath the car. Obviously, putting it in this car, we have a little different setup. So what we designed, what we kind of engineered, was it actually bolts in through, there was 2 bolt holes on the bottom. I don't know, I forget if they were actually for something or what. And so what we did is we put this bar straight across, attached it to each side, and attached it there. One of the reasons we did this was we had to cut that main cross member, as you can see here. This bar in a normal MG goes straight across. Obviously that's a pretty structural piece. So with building this center console and building this trans mount, we really wanted to make sure that it was adding as much reinforcement as possible. We are going to be doing some looping underneath and some structural stuff. So once we added this bar, originally this floor wasn't here. We decided to put this floor because the old floor was it was solid in most places, but it had some work, and instead of patching it, I decided to just put this whole new floor down. Another reason being, it was a nice clean flat surface for us to weld the bar to, because even though it was tacked to each side, I thought it would add a lot of rigidity if we tacked it or welded it all the way across as well. So from there I decided that I was going to need to build an entire new trans tunnel, because obviously the old one I had to cut out. The old one was just a kind of an archway all the way across, and that did not work for the new, bigger Miata transmission. So the next thing we decided to do was to cut out the floor to obviously make room for the transmission. And then if you can see here, we actually just made a temporary drive shaft. It's very, very short. I don't know if you can see the whole thing there, but it's maybe 18 inches long. And we made sure our angles and everything were good, and it is. And so we decided this was its permanent spot, and we need to obviously make a trans tunnel as well as a center console. So obviously in these cars, one of the biggest concerns is space. They're really small cars as it is, and we're adding a lot of girth to this center console. So we wanted to make sure everything fit, everything was good. We threw the seats in, we measured everything out. We knew that this was about as wide as we could go with this tunnel. As well, it left the entire opening at the back. It just kind of made sense for structure to be able to attach these bars to it, as well as everything else. So what we decided to do was make this symmetrical. There's different ways you can do this. If you're looking from over top, there is a little bit of room to spare in different spots. So for example, if we're looking over this side, we really don't have much room to spare. I mean, we could have cut it in here if we wanted, but this is actually directly underneath these bars. So we really couldn't have come in much more before that. I mean, you can see maybe a couple centimeters an inch or so there, but that's about it. On this side though, definitely a little bit more room. You could have, we could have come in, followed this, and kept it tight. But again, I wanted more of the symmetrical look, and I think it looks pretty good like that as well. So the next big question, and a really big question that a lot of people have when they put more modern transmissions from bigger cars into these small cars, is the position of the shifter. Now, if you guys have an MG yourself, you know that the shifter is about here, and mine is all the way back here. Now personally, I'm not a fan of the position of the shifter. Actually, I can show you on. It's good to have two cars. This one's my brother's, but you can see that the shifter's all the way up here. Mine sits about here. That's a really big difference. But when you have the seats in and you grab this, you're still in a pretty comfortable position. Ideally, I would want it a little more forward, but what was more important to me than comfortability is for me to have cup holders. My goal is to have two cup holders here, or at least one for me. If I have a passenger, aka my wife, and we have, we grab a coffee on the way or something like that, she can just hold hers if need be. Sorry, Sarah. But that was really important to me. Now, the next reason that I wanted this nice big area is because this trans tunnel and center console isn't quite finished. So from about here, we're gonna have a plate that goes up on an angle and attaches up here. In that, we're going to have my ignition, we're going to have all my switches for my lights, because everything isn't really going to, as you can see we're running all the electrical, everything isn't going to quite fit where it normally would. As well, I do need to make a custom dash, but this is stuff I'm probably going to have to fiddle with and access quite easily, so having this plate there to attach everything to, I think is going to be good. I think it's going to be unique as well, having the ignition in the middle and having kind of the custom electronics there. So I think that's going to work well for me. And again, my whole thing is I don't care about keeping it, like a classic MG. If you look here, all of your switches and dials and everything are on the dash. Really everything besides maybe your hazards and what was a radio there. So pretty well everything's up there. I really don't care to keep that originality in it. One question that I still have is, this is what I'm using for my dash, which is from the Miata, and it's too big to fit here, and I really don't want to cut this, so I'm going to put a poll up on Instagram, but I wonder what it would look like if it was just kind of straight in the middle. That way all my electronics would be in the middle, all my gauges, everything would be there. I don't know if it would look too plain in front of me, like behind the steering wheel. So I'm gonna render some stuff up. I'll throw that up on Instagram. So when that goes live, you guys should tell me what I should do. But anyways, back to the trans tunnel. So again, one of our main goals while making this was also adding rigidity to the car, because we've cut away from the frame, we've cut away from some of its major, major supports. So one thing we did was we tied this front part into this cross member. Now, not that cross member is the most, the thickest material or anything like that, but it does connect side to side. So we've connected side to side, down to the floor, to the main rails, across, all the way back, and into this back piece. As well, we have pieces going all the way across, attaching front to back again, tying into this rail, attaching side to side. I really do think it's going to add a lot of stability and a lot of rigidity. We're gonna have to see, but excuse me. But I think that's gonna be good. So basically, what we did to create this, as you'll see in the video, we started with our bottom lines. I cut out the floor to match perfectly with where we wanted it, because the original floor was just rough cut. Next thing we did was we found the height here, figured out exactly where we would need to connect to the front, and we created these bars. As you'll see in the video, we kind of pie cut these. This is one solid bar. We pie cut it, bent it to the angle we needed, and then went from there. The reason we started with the top bar was we wanted to make sure that everything was nice and level, and when we made these supports, we didn't want them being different heights, kind of altering the pitch of the metal. And sorry, I'm getting really cold in here, so if it sounds like my teeth are chattering a bit, it's because I'm freezing. But after that, we put in these side supports. Again, trying to attach as much as we could. I want to go through and weld solid everything just so there's as much contact as possible. Same with across the floor. Right now it's just tacked, but it needs to be welded up nice. Then we made the one cross. There's going to be another cross here where the plate attaches to. And then I want to add some supports that tie into the main rails just for that extra. But that I think will be it for kind of cross supports and things like that. Yeah, that's basically it where we're at right now. You know, if anyone's interested, I can take some measurements if you want to kind of create the same thing. I will say, if you are putting a 1.6 liter Miata engine in your car and you want it kind of the same position that mine's in, there is quite a bit of cutting that needs to happen. I showed that in some previous videos. If you want to go see, I think it's called How to Fit a 1.6 liter in a 1978 midget. So take a look at that. But again, if anyone needs any measurements or anything like that, you can hit me up on Instagram at modern_mg. I'm probably not underlining where I want it to be, but that's okay. The last thing I do want to show you guys is this with the seats in it. So just give me 1 second to put them in so I can show you kind of the room that we have. Alright, so I put the seats in, let's hop in here. This is hard on a average day, but also with a seat that's not attached, wiring everywhere, getting in is definitely a chore. Alright, so as you can see, just to talk about the shifter position, my arm is super comfortable like this. I can, shift no problem. I really don't think it's going to be an issue. And like I said, it's kind of more of a driver's stance. Like I have my arm back. I feel like I'm ready to go. But in terms of position of the seats, so you can see here, you still have a ton of room next to the seat. I want to say a ton of room, I mean barely any, but enough that the seat can fit. A seatbelt will fit there, and we'll be all set. In terms of legroom, again, mind all the electrical. But in terms of legroom, when my foot is on the gas, this is where my leg sits. I still have a ton of room side to side. We should be pretty good. In these cars, you are pretty well jammed in here, even in a stock one. So I don't think it's going to be too different, but I think we're going to be comfortable as well. Something that I'm wanting to do is I want to get a smaller steering wheel, just to have a little bit more room. I know it'll take away a bit of the steering abilities because it is a manual steering car. There's no steering pump or anything like that. But again, I think it'll be fine. It's a pretty light car, and I think the extra room in the cabin will be worth it. So anyways, guys, this has been my video. Again, the next kind of steps are creating the panel here for the rest of my electronics, securing the seats in, making some seat rails, running the electronics. I have some fuel lines as well as some coolant lines and stuff coming, so hopefully within a couple weeks this car is fully running, and hopefully we can do some tests and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. So if you're interested in this, and if you like this style of video more where I'm explaining things rather than just showing it, I would love to hear it in the comments below. That would mean a lot to me. Or again, send me a message on Instagram. I'm very active there, and you kind of see things there before you see things here. So anyways, if you enjoyed, subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, share it on your forums, do whatever you want with it. And we will see you guys in the next one.